Good evening, folks. We got 7 people in here. Going to be a little bit different of a live tonight. Um, Something that I've kind of talked about a little bit in the past, but I'm going to actually dedicate kind of tonight's discussion, or most of it, to a particular topic, and I'll share more of that with you in a moment. So let me kind of do some intros. So in here, you'll notice that Little Rick's not here. Little Rick is volunteered with his entire family. So all 3 kids are attending Vacation Bible School this week. And Rick and Chelsea are volunteering for all the logistics behind the scenes for Vacation Bible School. So it goes on all week. So that's just one more thing to for Rick to kind of put in his calendar. So if I miss some folks, you all know that this goes a lot smoother when Rick is behind the scenes pushing the buttons versus me. For example, 2 weeks ago, I forgot to even push the go live button, and I was 5 minutes in talking, carrying on before I ever realized that we were not even live. So it looks like I've already accomplished that task tonight. So we got Paula Wells in here. Welcome. Paula is one of our moderators, or another moderators. We appointed Randy, Missouri Outlaw, as another one of our regular moderators. Randy's in here each week. So welcome, Randy. Appreciate that, sir. Never know quite where Randy's at. Randy's truck driver, goes all over the country, and he is, forget where he said, where did he say he was at? Somewhere. Missouri, Oklahoma City is where he's at. So then we got, I already said Paula. We have got Hedgehog's Homestead. Welcome. Great to have you. And we got Twin Brook Acres. Rick, glad to have you, sir. Says, sitting by my campfire, just starting it. Well, I can't think of a better place to be, but you guys got the weather for a campfire right now. It is all-time, the high since 1970 in Jacksonville or Northeast Florida. As of today, everybody thinks Florida is like blistering hot all the time. Well, it's really not. It's humid, not blistering hot. So the highest temperature since 1970 is 99 degrees. So we got up to 96 today. So we're flirting with that high temperature. It's been warm, very warm. Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. So Sandy, welcome. Glad to have you in here. Then we got Bradley from down under fella. Glad to have you, Bradley. I think I caught everybody that's in here. So we don't have Rick in here. He is not moderating, or he's not with me. As I said, he is off doing some other commitments with his family. I was going to talk tonight about kind of updates on the farm, what's going on, what we're doing. We got a comment from Randy this week, Missouri Outlaw, that we're kind of been a little bit less present. And I think that's a good observation, an astute observation. And I wanted to kind of get into what's been going on around here on the farm, and then just some of the kind of tangential stuff, the stuff that kind of happens on the peripheral that, I don't talk about a lot. Sometimes it's in videos. Most of the time it's not. I know in some of the videos that we've had in the past, I have kind of beat around the bush a little bit in terms of, some of the things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. So I'm going to talk about some of that today, because I watched a video 2 weeks ago. If you were on here, you recall that we had as our guest Gary and Cindy from Pathways Homestead. So if you're not familiar with Pathways, go check them out. They are just 2 incredibly genuine people. And when I say genuine, there's no pretentiousness about them. They are who they are. They don't try to be someone that they're not. There's not a big production, none of their videos. I just really enjoy their down-to-earth approach with everything they do. I loved having them on as a guest. So their video today was about some of the struggles that Gary doesn't talk about a lot. In fact, I don't think he's ever talked about it, but their video today was exactly that, talking about some of the medical struggles that Gary has talked about or been dealing with for many, many, many years, and how that has guided and influenced what they have done as a family, as a couple, as a homestead in particular, to um, be able to survive, and how some of those medical struggles have kind of impacted them. And it really, as I was watching Gary talk, you could just see kind of the emotion in his face. You could see the emotion in his eyes, and it really got me thinking about, Gary or Randy's comment earlier this week about, you guys haven't been as present, or I haven't seen you as much. And there's a reason for that, behind the scenes. And I don't want anyone to interpret this as sympathy seeking by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I don't want you to say, we're thinking of you, praying for you. That's not the purpose of this. Now, if that's what you choose, then fine. I will never. I always appreciate prayers and thoughts and blessings from folks, as anyone does, because we are spiritually based. But that's not what this is about. This is really about kind of just talking about gratefulness at the end of the day, and how what some of the struggles that we deal with on a day-to-day basis influence and guide us, not only in the short term, but in my case, and apparently in Gary's case, from Pathways, and some others that are in here now, that I know, that I know personally, that I've communicated with personally, that deal with these same day-to-day struggles. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And toward the end, if we got a little bit of time, my daughter, who sometimes comes on to our live streams as the Crafty Hobbit, she's actually at my house. So she actually brought her daughters, two daughters, and they are going to be spending the summer from Washington State, and they're going to be spending the summer here in Northeast Florida with Lala and I. And so she's down here bringing those. She's actually flying back tonight. She goes back to the airport at 2 o'clock, but she's going to be 2 o'clock a.m. So she's actually going to be on here, so she can kind of meet her personally. But let's get into what I'm talking about. So everyone knows that I was formerly in the military. Joyful noise and notes. Welcome. I apologize so much. I was not able to make the you guys' concert the other night. I had a previous engagement that I could not get out of. So hopefully we'll be able to make the next concert that you guys do. But I was able to get in and out from time to time, just to kind of support y'all. And you guys did a fantastic job. I kind of watched some of the replay. Haven't had the time to watch all of it. But most of you know that I was formerly in the military, and I did very well in the military. Got out went in 1985, and got out in 1992 as an E6, and that is moving right along. So I was in the military for 6.5, nearly 7 years, and I was medically discharged because of an accident that I had when I was in the military, and I was hit in the head and ended up developing, as a result of that, and it didn't even happen immediately. It happened over a period of 2 years. I developed a concussion, but was immediately kind of evaluated and sent right back to regular duty. And then about a year later, in the middle of the night, I don't even remember it, I was called down to sick bay, which is medical on a small ship, um, and advised that I had a seizure. I had an observed seizure the night before. I don't remember it, didn't remember it. And in fact, I called him a liar, the doctor, because there's just no way that I would have had a seizure. I would have remembered that. And well, it was observed by 3 people that I woke up once I had the seizure. Then it stopped, and I just crawled right back into my bed and went back to bed. So they had me evaluated, sent me right back to regular duty, saying that it was just stress and lack of sleep induced, and never thought anything of it whatsoever. So then another year goes by, and I have another one. Now this one I was with my brother when it happened, but long story short, that one got me kicked out of the military. They put me onto medication. Now, even going back some additional remote history. In high school, I was trained as a welder, so I was certified in MIG, TIG, arc, oxyacetylene welding, aluminum welding, every kind of welding you could imagine I did, and was certified in the state of New York to do welding. Then I went into the military and learned a whole other craft, all in electronics. So I did electronics and high voltage and low voltage electricity in the military. Well, anyone that's familiar with persons with epilepsy, one of the biggest things that the doctors will say you can't do is be around high voltage electricity, high voltage circuits, and generally you're not allowed to drive. So immediately, and anyone who knows anything about welding, that's what welding is basically molten metal because of electrical current that's shorted from the welder to the metal. So I could not do, when I got kicked out of the Navy, I was only 23 years old, could not weld. I could not, no one's going to hire a welder with a seizure risk, nor will they hire anyone working with electronics or electricity due to the seizure risk. So I had no option but to, I worked with the Veterans Administration, went to school, and did well in school, but I had to kind of figure out what's my next play here, what's my next course in life. And at that point, I really just did not think anything of this seizure disorder other than what I couldn't do, because I'd only had 2. I just thought they were flukes, didn't think anything of it whatsoever. So I went to the VA. The VA approved me to go to school. Long story short, I ended up completing my associate's degree, my bachelor's degree, 2 master's degree, and ultimately a doctoral degree at the University of Florida. So I have a PhD outside of my farm work in rehabilitation, the very thing that got me kind of lined up after I got discharged from the military. So my first love was doing rehabilitation services with disabled veterans who had been separated from the service. And that's what I have now done for since 1992. So right at 30 years, I've been doing the same exact work. And I have loved every minute of it. So that uncertainty that surrounded my epilepsy or my seizure disorder really did not cause me to be problematic. The VA put me on medication. The medication did not work. In fact, it made it incredibly difficult to go to school, to study, to do my work that I had no option but to do. And so I took myself off the medication involuntarily against medical advice. And I have not been on any type of anticonvulsant or anti-seizure medication since roughly 94 timeframe, after I started school. And about, I would say, 10 years ago, I started seeing kind of patterns in this seizure disorder that I had, where if I didn't get adequate sleep, or if I ate certain types of foods, or if I didn't hydrate well, then I would end up having seizures. Um, and I still kind of tried to manage it myself, because really out of fear over what it would do to my inability to drive, my inability, really out of fear of what it would do socially. And over the last 3, 4 years, five, no longer than that, probably 6 years. 6 years ago is when I really started thinking, well, what am I going to do long term if I can't work? If this becomes super problematic for me? And the homestead and our farm was kind of the solution to that. And that's really why I say that is when I was listening to Pathways today. Um, that was essentially what Gary said. He said, there were periods when we had a difficult time bringing in money because he was the primary earner, and that was their solution for being able to continue to live on a day-to-day basis. There wasn't a whole lot of money coming in, but the homestead and self-sufficiency gave them a path forward, just in case. And that's really kind of what was on my mind as we kind of progressed forward, trying to figure out what my path forward was. So probably 4 years ago is when my seizure issue really began to become problematic for me, where I would consider it not to be controlled. In fact, sufficiently enough to where I had to, for the first time in at that point, 26 years, had to seek out consultation with a neurologist. And the neurologist said, you need to be on medication. And again, I was terrified of what the results of that medication may be, in terms of personality, in terms of behavioral issues, in terms of sleep, in terms of cognition, all of that stuff. And I still, despite having seizures on a fairly regular basis, continued to blow off the prognosis of medication. So 2 years ago, it was during the pandemic, I had to go to Missouri for a work appointment. And just coincidentally, I was able to schedule my work appointment around the Southwest Missouri meetup, of which many of the folks that are often on our lives, including Paula Wells and her husband Kyle, were at. And Kimberly and I had driven up there because I still was not into flying because of the pandemic. And on my way to that meetup, had a seizure and had another seizure shortly after I got to the meetup. And I think that day, if it weren't for Paula Wells, who's in here tonight, and her husband Kyle, Kimberly would have had a really, really tough day, because I think at the end of the day, I had ended up having 3 seizures just in that one day. And it was tough, but that kind of bonded me to to Paula forever, because she's kind of seen me at my worst. But that was kind of the beginning of what has become an incredibly difficult 2 years. Now, in the height of the pandemic, that's also when my son and I, little Rick, decided that myself and he are going to start this YouTube channel. And we did. And we've been going now at it for, I think, right at 2 years. And we've enjoyed it. It's been a ton of fun. But here's what I've learned about YouTube. And I know there's folks in here that I'm not going to call you out, so don't worry about that. There's folks in here that I know factually that I've talked to that they try to make everybody that they can happy on YouTube, probably at the risk of their own self-preservation. And they want to kind of keep commitments as they can. And they want to try to do everything so that nobody is disappointed. And YouTube has this awkward way, I think, of stealing minutes from you, just a few minutes at a time throughout the entire day. You got to watch this video. You got to watch that video. You got to do a video for tomorrow because you've told everybody that you're going to have a video on Monday and Friday. And so you got to do that video. Then you got to edit that video. Then you got to get it up and deal with all this stuff that really are deadlines that we kind of have imposed upon ourselves to grow a channel to keep other people from being disappointed in us. And that's kind of where I've come to in our YouTube journey, is that, Rick and I are continuing our YouTube channel because we enjoy it. But we've had to, in particular, myself, have had to step back and say, is this healthy for me? Am I doing what I need to do to try to stay healthy? So for the last 2 years, ever since that Missouri trip that I was talking about, it's been kind of an ongoing issue for the past 2 years where where it used to be 20 years ago, I might have a seizure once every 2-3 years. It wasn't that big a deal, and I worked around it. For the last 2 years, and particularly the last 6 months, it's been about every 3 to 4 weeks. And in the last 2 months, it's been every 2 to 3 weeks, to the point where I have no option but to get back to the neurologist and begin entertaining for the first time in 30 years the prognosis of being on medication again. And all of the stuff. So Gail Southern Living says, I have a little bit. Let me find out how to. I'm using 2 screens here, Gail, and I'm trying to talk and do comments. So Gail says I have a little bit of YouTube burnout myself, and I think that's inevitable, Gail, and that's kind of what. If I don't get across anything, I wouldn't say that I'm burned out. But what I am saying is that I think whether a YouTube content creator, whether you're a YouTube subscriber, whether you are just enjoy watching YouTube, I guess if there's no other message that I get across tonight, it's, take care of you first. If you don't feel good about what you're doing, then it's going to become kind of a drudgery. It's going to burn you out. And that's why, several weeks ago, we had a live where Little Rick and I talked about a membership program for Lala Farm. And the reason that we have not done that is very simple. We did not want to create an environment that caused us to have to do a certain thing on a certain timeline. And then, Sandy, who's also in here, created the idea of just doing, I was really struggling with multiple levels of membership. And she come up with this idea of just, $1. And that kind of gives, kind of a priority to say, here's the folks that I need to spend the most amount of time on, but it's $1. And those are the folks, it just kind of helps focus my time a little bit. And so that's why we did that, not to earn a lot of money. We're never going to make a lot of money. But, I look every Wednesday at folks come in here. And we get, sometimes it's more people than sometimes it's 20, 30 people. Sometimes it's 10, 15 people. And I can't tell you how thankful that I am, that people are willing to come in here week after week and kind of spend a little bit of time with us, that they are willing to hear what we have to say, and not, because they know that we're not gonna, I try to avoid drama like the plague on our channel. We don't do drama. I don't do drama. If there's one thing I dislike the most about YouTube, if any channel that starts drifting in that dramatic realm, I just unsubscribe to them quicker than quick. And that's one thing that Rick and I have both pledged that we will never kind of succumb to, is that drama piece. But so back to kind of where I'm at, and again, I'm not looking for any sympathy or anything like that. It's just kind of letting you know where we're at and why I have not been as present. It's because when I have one of these seizures, I'm like cognitively out of it for about 3 days, to where it takes that long for my brain to kind of heal itself. And it's kind of interesting that epilepsy is one of those things. Sometimes it's predictable, sometimes it's very unpredictable, and mine has grown to a point over 30 years where it has become very unpredictable. So last week, for the first time in 30 years, the doctor has started me on medication, an anticonvulsant, anti-seizure medication. And with that, I was very clear in asking him, what are the side effects? And the biggest side effects are tiredness. And I can vouch for that. As soon as I take that medication, within 10 minutes, I'm ready to go to bed. It makes you very, very, very tired. Another one that I was very concerned about was cognition, because the last time I was on medication 30 years ago, I was on one called carbamazepine, which is Tegretol, which is kind of an old school medication. And I literally was not able to focus sufficiently when I was taking that to be able to even focus on school, much less complete schoolwork. So that's why I stopped taking it. So that was one of my significant concerns going back on medication, is being able to work on that medication. I'm self-employed. I do my own thing that I have for 30 years. I do, forensic work within the legal system. And what that means, so I'm the guy that, for example, on Law and Order, everybody's seen Law and Order, and there's always those guys called expert witnesses that they bring in and testify on the witness stand as to certain questions regarding a case. Well, that's what I do for attorneys within the legal system, for defense attorneys, for plaintiff attorneys. So there's really no option but to be really, really clear thinking. And that was one of the adverse side effects that I was potentially looking at. Another one was, and this was one that I was probably the most concerned about. And he says, it will make you angry. It will make you probably difficult to deal with, and it will make you really kind of act out against other people. So the behavioral change, and that is not something that I was really interested in. And after the first week, I'm glad to kind of report that it makes me tired. There's been no effect on cognition thus far, and Lala has vouched for me that says I'm just the same kind of jerk that I've always been. I'm not a bigger jerk. so all looks good. But if you don't see us as much, it's because we're kind of going through a lot of transitions ourselves. And Rick has not been present. Little Rick has not been present now for going on 3 weeks, because he has 3 weeks ago he worked 65 hours in 1 week. Last week it was 75 hours in 1 week, and then this week he's volunteering at Vacation Bible School all week. So he has not been present at all. But that's kind of what's going on. So enough of the bummer stuff. I want to introduce you to somebody that's kind of on our lives frequently, and I always refer to her as, or she always comes on as the Crafty Hobbit, and that is my daughter, Rebecca. So this is little Rick's little sister, and she is a military wife from Bremerton, Washington is where they live. Both of them were born and raised here in Jacksonville. Her and her husband are both from Jacksonville. And so Amalia, come here. So this is my youngest granddaughter, and if she looks weird, this black stuff on her face, that's paint, because they were out in the garage or out in the shop with me. And that's paint. We made a cat, and then they were painting the cat, and somehow Amalia got it all over her face. I don't know how that worked. Pull that chair over here. So this is the Crafty Hobbit. This is my daughter, Rebecca.
Hello.
And she is the reason that I have this hat, because she also served in the Navy and was an aviation structural mechanic. And this is the command that she was attached to, VAQ 136, up in Seattle, or up in Whidbey Island, Washington. And this is her older daughter. This is Abigail.
Hi.
And Abigail knew that she was coming to Florida. So Abigail, get up close, baby. Smile big. Smile big. Smile. So Abigail, just for me, got rubber bands that are blue and orange for the University of Florida Gators. So that was pretty awesome. So these folks are talking to you. So that's Sandy. Now Sandy's out in Wyoming saying hi to Rebecca.
Hello. Hi.
So, and then everybody's calling you Cutie Pie. So Gail, Vineyard Chicks, they're up in Michigan. So tell us about some of the challenges that you got up in, kind of being a military mom and wife. And
Whoa.
So her husband is a chief corpsman, which is an HMC, attached to in Bremerton at the Navy submarine base out there. So she is actually you are the supervisor at Navy Lodge in Bremerton.
Figure out how to get Abigail in the
Come here.
thing, but also okay, there she goes. We gotta fit us all in here somehow. So as of right now, the biggest challenge is a lot of family members PCSing. So we've got,
people don't know what that means.
A lot of people moving. They are on orders. So PCSing is basically permanent change of station. Families moving from one duty station to the next. We are up for orders in October of this year, so there's a good chance that we might be coming back here to Mayport. Hopefully, fingers crossed. It's where we want to come back to. But
Mayport is one of the two. They have 3 naval stations within the Jacksonville area. One of them up in South Georgia, which is a submarine base at Kings Bay. Then they have a Naval Air Station at Naval Air Station Jacksonville, and then the surface base, which is basically a destroyer base at Mayport, Florida, which is where I was stationed at.
So
everybody's saying hello.
Hi, everybody. Down under, fella.
So what are some of the challenges you're seeing out there in the Washington area now? I mean, you were talking earlier about, she's went to get some gas earlier, and one of the things we're looking for DEF fluid for my diesel truck, and some of the differences that she's seeing out here between Florida and state of Washington. So
for us right now is gas prices are up to about $5.30. That's even on base. Everything on base is a tax exemption, so we don't pay taxes on literally anything. But the problem with us is on the west side of Washington, which is where we're at, it's closer to the coast. We have what's called the pass, and it pretty much year-round stays covered in snow. So if it's covered in snow, we're not getting a whole lot of stuff shipped to us. So we get a lot of problems with shipments and stuff like that. But
see that guy there, he's making fun of Pop. Is that very nice?
They don't get their looks from their grandfather. Good thing.
That's not very nice, is it? All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was an Army dependent turned wife. I know the difficulty firsthand. Yeah. So luckily I've had Steve home with us. So he's on shore duty right now, but his next command, he's definitely going to be sea duty. So he's either trying to go to a destroyer, or we're at least trying to get back to the East Coast. So his top choices are looking at Norfolk, Virginia, Camp Lejeune, which was our first duty station together, which is actually where we got married. So he would go back with the Marine Corps or Mayport.
So they've only been married for how long?
Oh, I don't even remember.
12
we
years?
got married in 2013.
So in 13, so not even 10 years, and they've been to North Carolina, San Diego, Jacksonville, and now Seattle or Bremerton area of Washington. So they've been all over the place.
We've been married for less than 10 years and driven to the West Coast twice. And in the time frame, I've driven there 3 times. So. And in that time frame, he has been to Bahrain for 2 years. So
visually impaired lathe and woodworker. Thank you for your service. So thank you, sir. So that is Grayson Fire's husband, and he is a disabled veteran himself. And,
oh, wow.
And he makes ink pens.
Well, thank you.
So, all right. Well, folks, I knew we were going to have, this one's going to be a little bit shorter tonight than they generally are. And here's why, is that, again, some of you probably know this about me. Some of you may not. Lala and I are gigantic hockey fans, and we are in the Stanley Cup Finals right now. And in 20 minutes, the game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals begins, and Tampa Bay is down 1 game in their 4th. So
we're about to start a new puzzle.
So we're gonna go out there and watch that. So Twinbrook Acres. So he says the girls look like twins. They do look like twins, but this one is a year younger or 2 years younger.
They're 15 months apart.
So this one is the older of the 2.
I found out I was pregnant with this one when this one was 9 months old.
So they're my girls. They were out there doing some scroll saw work with me, and we made a Frady Cat was the pattern name, and Scaredy Cat was the pattern name, and we got that. So Rick Isaac, which is Little Rick's oldest son, he cut the actual pattern out, and then we handed it off to these 2, and now they're painting it.
What? We're almost done.
We're gonna make their daddy a present too. We're gonna make their daddy a raccoon.
Oh, he's watching this.
Is he?
Yeah.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. I told him to get on here because I was gonna be on.
Oh, all right. Well, all right. Hopefully he's not on there now.
He might not be. He was walking home a second ago.
All right, folks. We are gonna go ahead and sign off, and this has been. I just wanted to kind of explain kind of what's been going on, kind of explain some of the background. All this stuff, and just to kind of convey to everybody, take care of you first. YouTube is, it's kind of like a hobby, but don't make it so that you regret doing it or kind of resent doing it is probably a better word. It can be a lot of fun. It can, I think Rick and I enjoy doing it.
Stop.
What's she doing?
She's making weird faces into the
What am I doing?
All right. So thank you all for visiting with us tonight. And they're all saying, so that guy right there, this is Bradley. He says, later, girls. You know where he's from?
Where?
He's from Australia. You know where Australia is at?
No.
That's where they got kangaroos.
Ooh.
Amalia, that's where they have all the reptiles that you like.
Ooh.
They got kangaroos and they got koala bears down there.
I want to.
Isn't that cool?
That's where they have spiders the size of your face.
All right, folks, we're gonna sign off. Always remember,
What?
treat others as. All right, we're gonna say it. You know what we say? Treat others as you like to be treated. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Say it.
Treat
others as you would like to be treated. Good night, all.
Aww.
Bye.